What's up, guys? Nick from Comic Culture here. It's time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. If you want to check out some of these books, I'll have links down below in the description. It's a great way to help support the channel. With that out of the way, let's get into the books I read this week, starting off with Absolute Superman. We have issue number 20. Of course, we have Jason Aaron on this one, and we have Sandoval doing the art. This continues our knockout, drag-out fight between King Shazam. We also have this version of Steel, and we have Superman. We also have Hawkman in here. There is so many cool moments in this battle that stretch across the entire globe. The battle goes back and forth, right? They're basically all teaming up against Shazam, but is it enough to take out that threat? We see inside the pages here. It certainly doesn't help that there's a little bit of inner fighting going on between our, I guess, protagonists inside the series, although that's a sliding scale throughout this issue. And so we get to see a little bit about how they can actually team up, overcome their differences, and take out this impossible threat. We also touch base with Lois and Talia. There's a Parasite mention in here as well. So we're seeing what other people are doing in the broader world, not just what's going on in the battlefield right now. We're actually getting some clues as to where those characters might be going. But this issue is all about the continuation of the giant battle, again, going across the globe. And man, they did a fantastic job of just showing you the scale of all of that. I gotta tell you, Absolute Superman has really kicked it up in the last dozen issues or so. I'm really hyped to see where the story goes. A lot of interesting characters, a lot of things at play, and I'm really interested to see how they weave it all together with the Absolute Universe. Bring in Wonder Woman, bring in Batman, bring in Flash and Green Lantern and everybody else. I want to see all of them in the same sandbox here very soon. Next up is Kelly Thompson over on Absolute Wonder Woman. We have issue number 21 out this week. We do have a guest artist on this issue, but in classic fashion for Absolute Wonder Woman, it's the perfect guest artist to tell the perfect part of the story. Two different threads happening inside this story. We basically have Barbara dealing with the betrayal of Diana, leaving her in the clutches of Kale to be tortured and being subjected to the body of the current cheetah in this universe. There's a lot of conversation between Barbara and the spirit of the cheetah, trying to persuade Barbara to become the new avatar of that character, and we get a little bit of backstory about all of that as well. Then on the flip side, we have Diana, who's having to deal with this bargain that she struck with some of the gods earlier on in the series. She has to spend 1 month out of the year in the underworld, and the timing could not be worse. But with Diana in the underworld, unable to escape, she realizes that Cersei, her mother, was also kidnapped, or something happened with her. So now she's in the hunt, trying to find clues as to who took her and where she could be. We do get a cool battle between Diana and a Masticore in the issue, and I thought that was handled really cool and poetically, like it normally is with Diana and some of these mythological beasts. But at the end of the day, this wasn't the person that was responsible for Cersei's kidnapping, so we're going to have to continue our trail. But again, this story is all about those emotional beats. It's all about the creativity of the underworld and the mythologies coming to life, and Diana having to deal with all of that, and what is her place amongst these godlike characters. That's really the charm of this entire story. Not to mention, we are potentially seeing the evolution of Barbara as a character and becoming the next cheetah, so that's going to be something we're going to have to deal with in future issues. Next up is Conan the Barbarian, issue number 32. Of course, we have Jim Zub on this one, and we have Doug Berthwaite doing the art. I got to tell you, I am absolutely blown away by whatever this creative team is able to do with this character. It's something new and fresh and unique every single time. We're coming out of the Son of Tooth arc. We have this in-between issue right here where Conan is basically, doing what he does best, just living it up inside of taverns and bars with the company of women around him and some shady characters as well. Of course, that routine is interrupted. We have a mysterious woman that comes in looking for a very formidable bodyguard to accompany her on this mysterious quest, saying that the reward will be absolutely worth it. And of course, Conan obliges because it's a beautiful woman in need. That's what he does. Conan and this mysterious woman travel across the land and having to deal with not only nature, but also supernatural threats like an army of the dead. That was really cool. Eventually, Conan and his mysterious guest arrive at this shrine or this old fort next to a battlefield, and Conan really gets to see who this woman is and what her intentions and goal was with this entire journey. It's really a cool yin and yang that this team is able to do with Conan. He seems to be this very one-dimensional type of a character, but there's also a lot of heart and emotion, not only with him, but some of the ancillary cast and the missions that they are sent on. This is one of those issues. Conan's doing a very noble thing at the end of the issue. He's not only trying to help this person out on their quest, but he's also rewarded in some eternal way, which I thought was really cool. As always, the interior artwork is absolutely incredible. The coloring is fantastic as well. And man, this was just like a great in-between story from our previous arc leading into the next one. I'm telling you guys, if you're not reading Conan the Barbarian, I've said this month after month after month for a few years now, you have to be reading Conan the Barbarian and Savage Sword. It's some of the best comics on the shelf every month. All right, next up is the conclusion of Do Not Disturb issue number 4. Of course, we have Flores and Ro on this book. I thought the conclusion of the story was very satisfying and very fitting for this character and the journey that we've been on the entire time. We basically are trying to understand the rules of the afterlife, but not only that, but also the rules of just being in the physical space of the Argyle Hotel. We're trying to solve this murder mystery, and so, but is it really a murder? We're trying to save the life of this young woman who was killed, and we are trying to challenge the rules that we understand about this physical space and just being dead in general. And sometimes in order to save the day, you have to break some of the rules, take some chances, and sometimes you're rewarded like you are in the story here. I thought the whole story had a great pace to it. It also had a lot of cool ancillary characters, really great landscapes and aesthetic throughout the entire thing, cool vibe and just look in the whole book. I thought the design was amazing as well. It's also unlike any crime noir detective book I've ever read before. It has all those elements, but it also has this ghostly thing thrown in on top of it, and it's just really cool. I highly recommend everyone checking this one out. Next up, we have Escape issue number 8. Remender on this one, we have Acuna doing the art. This issue is absolutely amazing, just like every issue of Escape. Not only are we licking our wounds from the battle that we just came out of when we're trying to destroy the cannon, we had some unlikely allies come to our aid. We're learning more about that resistance and the structure within it and what their plans were to combat the evil in their own land. Tensions are still very high throughout this entire issue, and Milton actually learned some secrets and some plans that the US military has on pretty much wiping out the entire city, and he's got to get out of there with his allies before it's too late. Of course, the enemy comes knocking back on their door, finding the resistance in their hideout, and so it turns into an escape mission, and we're trying to dodge the inevitable bombs that are going to wipe everything out at the same time. Everything you love about issues 1 through 7 continue in issue number 8. We're just going to be adding higher stakes, more things to worry about, and more characters. I said this before, I think on my haul video, but if you haven't read Escape yet, you can pick up the trade paperback now, collecting issues 1 through 6. You can get caught right back up there, and then you can jump in with 7 and 8 right here. All right, let's talk about the Infernal Hulk issue number 8. Of course, we have PKJ on this one, and we have Adam Gorham doing the art. So we still don't have Nick Klein on this series for the interior artist, and we're basically just kind of getting used to that at this point. Now, it's not to say that Adam Gorham is not a suitable replacement. In fact, he pulls forward a lot of the same aesthetic and vibe that Nick Klein would have, but there's a certain element of body horror that we're certainly lacking in these issues. Our heroes are starting to understand that in order to defeat a Hulk, you have to have another Hulk, or Hulks in that case. So, you know, Bruce Banner, he's trying to deal with his persona and his ability to change back into the Hulk. His cells were physically altered to the point where they don't accept the gamma radiation anymore. He can't transform. It's like physically impossible at this stage of the game. But he might know some other areas they could be searching to find formidable allies to join the battle, and that's exactly what we do here in the form of getting Scar on our team. Now, Scar, having been living in the essentially center of the earth with a bunch of other weird characters and mythological beings and artifacts, he will be helping our team out right now, arming them with necessary tools and giving them some access to some magical properties as well, and I'll let you see what that's all about in the book. So eventually we're going to be dealing with a Bruce Banner who can pull forth the Hulk persona again, maybe teaming up with Scar and some of the other Earth's mightiest heroes to take on this Infernal Hulk, this ultimate bad guy. I feel compelled to continue reading this book because I have so few Marvel books on my pull list, and I've made it to issue number 8 already, and so why not continue it and see where it goes? The next book we read was Is Ted Okay? Issue number 5. David Chisholm on this one. What a friggin' spectacular series this has been so far. Issue number 5 feels like an issue number 3 in the fact that, like, we learn so many things about our character, our world, what is going on. It has that number 3 formula written all over it, although we get that almost every single issue. There is so many things we have to uncover issue to issue, and I never feel like the whiplash of that. It feels very satisfying, and it feels very well paced at the same time. I honestly don't want to talk a whole lot about this book as far as what specifically happens in it, but we do get an understanding of what Ted is going through. We understand, what Noah has been up to and what he's trying to build and what the kind of world he's trying to build and why Ted is so special. We understand why Ted is not okay in this issue. What I love is after you learn all the things you learn in issue number 5, you can't help but go back in your mind, revisiting issues 1 through 4, and some of the pieces start coming together. Like you understand Noah's motivations and what he's trying to accomplish and just how far he'll go to push science and technology and biology at the same time. So story aside, the book is also a very well designed book. I love the aesthetic of it, the color palette that's used, the way that forced perspective is used to make you feel uneasy, the weird character angles and whatnot. So there's a lot of cool things happening from the visual point of view that you don't see in comics mostly. This series is definitely on that really short list of best comics of the year so far. I would highly recommend checking it out. We have issue number 6 wrapping it up very soon. Hopefully we're going to get some cool collected edition, hopefully in a hardcover format. When we do, check that one out. Next up is the Swamp Thing 89 issue number 3, or legacy numbering 90, either way you look at it. We have Rick Veitch and we have Mandrake doing the art duties here. This one's continuing the journey of Swamp Thing through time and space and reality, making himself face to face with the Source Wall himself. Now, Swamp Thing does have a little bit of experience with the Source Wall, or what the Source might be, because he's spoken with some of the new gods in the past. But this is a very different interaction here. He's literally face to face with the Source Wall, who's asking or answering questions that Swamp Thing might have. But really, the answer is within Swamp Thing the entire time, and that's what the conversation reveals here. It basically gives him an ultimatum. He can join the Source Wall, or he could be rebirthed in a very painful, agonizing way. It's going to take a lot of time to get back to where he was before, trying to help Abigail in her time of need. Now, of course, Swamp Thing chooses the resurrection path, but we're having to deal with just time itself, right? We're in a very primitive age. We're having to deal with being a very, single-celled or very simple type of organism and trying to evolve in this biome that he's in now. He learns about people, he learns about society and culture and tradition and ritual and friendship and in these early interactions with these human-type characters, and it really jogs his memory as to what he's doing and why he's going through this to begin with. We also have this other plot where John Constantine is on the radar of a lot of demons that are in hell, and they're trying to pull together some of the resources to go collect his soul, and there's obviously some rewards around that, and we're exploring some more of that as we go. Swamp Thing is not immune to this either, as there's certainly a bounty on his head as well, so some of these demons are trying to get him too. And then we have this real Manger-esque scene with Abigail trying to deliver this child pretty much in the bayou, and of course we're going to run into some issues related to that too. This issue didn't require as much general knowledge of the DC universe as the previous one did. This one's a little bit more straightforward, but it's very conceptual at the same time, but nothing too difficult to follow. And again, this issue was a really cool palette cleanser between some of these other books out this week, because it just reminds you of a different time in DC with how it was produced and drawn and written and everything. It was very refreshing and way easier to follow than the previous issue. All right, next up is the Eye Collector issue number 1. We have Jonathan Ball on this one, and GMB, I think he's co-writing and he's also drawing this issue. I don't have any familiarity with this creative team, so I wanted to go ahead and check it out because it is a new Image number 1, and Image number 1s are a big deal. The story was very difficult for me to follow, but the basic concept here is we have some astronauts leaving space. They're going to Moon, I think it's Apollo 10, and they are traveling on the way there, but there's this ancient being, like an alien type of a thing, who's interacted with humans in the past, who interacts with these astronauts on their way there, starts messing with their psyches, and maybe starts implanting themselves on their minds and taking over the visual acuity of these astronauts, just kind of messing with them temporally. It was a very abstract, weird, interesting way to tell this story. The visuals were kind of all over the place. The panel work and the lettering and everything were kind of exaggerated and blown up, taking up a whole lot of space. So it didn't have that traditional comic book format, which is totally fine. It works for the stories it needs to, but I felt this one a little bit jarring and confusing at the same time. I couldn't quite follow what was happening to the astronauts, besides them essentially being possessed by an alien, I suppose. The issue ended in like a one-shot kind of a way too. Like you could make this an issue of the Twilight Zone and just call it like a one and done type thing, but no, I think this is actually going to progress forward, and this alien being or whatever it is going to inhabit Earth and take things over. I think that's the direction we're going to in issue number 2 and beyond. I don't mind the concepts that we're approaching here, but I think the visual representation of what was happening was a little bit blurred. It was a little bit muddied. Like I think the visuals itself, it felt like whatever the art was, they blew it up into a larger scale than the comic format and kind of stuck it on the page. And there wasn't a whole lot of like very interesting composition. So it really took me out of the story and I couldn't quite follow the narrative of everything. So I think it was an interesting package. It just might not have been for me. Then next up, we have the Hab issue number 3. We have a lot of great creators on this one, including Joshua Dessart. We have David Lapham on this one. We have Bill Sienkiewicz, not to mention a few other ones. So we have a cool creative cast on the story. Now we're still uncovering the secrets that were basically built into the foundation of this habitat and how that is, I don't know, the spiritual essence of that clan or whoever it was has poisoned the water supply. So everybody that was in this habitat that drank water, anything like that, basically became possessed and started hallucinating and killing each other. We're having to deal with all that now, but even that whole thing is starting to evolve here too. Our surviving crew is having to band together, make sure they're wearing the proper protection and trying to infiltrate certain spaces to see exactly what is going on, trying to find the source of all this and stop it at its roots. Each issue has explored a little bit of the backstory when this habitat habitat was being built, some of the secrets they found in the Foundation, and how it was impacting and affecting some of the early crew members that we just now saw again in the most recent issues. So really the answer to our problem is to go deeper into the well, right? Go into the cave system and see what exactly is in there. We're trying to protect ourselves from the spores and from the water, the contaminated water, but also from ourselves at the same time. I do think it's a pretty interesting book. It's got that newspaper print to it, so it feels good while you're reading it. It's got a lot of characters to keep up with in the story. It's got that horror element thrown in, and it's a story I really haven't heard before. So check this one out if your shop gets those Bad Idea books. I don't know if they're going to make it into a collected edition anytime soon. In fact, I don't even know if they make Bad Idea collected editions. Let me know down below if you know, but check this one out if you haven't yet. Next up is The Peril of Brutal Dark and Ezra Kane Mystery issue number 5. We have Chris Condit on this one, and we have Jacob Phillips doing the art. Now, this issue certainly feels like it's the penultimate issue. A lot of things happen in here. We basically have Ezra Kane infiltrating this Nazi base. We have this Zeppelin that appears out of nowhere with this impossible technology tied to it, and it's calling back to this mystical anvil that we heard about in the beginning of the series. The Zeppelin is fitted with the mystical powers of the anvil, and the antagonists threaten to destroy New York City with it. So of course Ezra has to do what he can do to fight not only the Nazi threats, but also the robots that are involved, and having to deal with being up in the air in general without any kind of resources. And it certainly feels a whole lot different than the previous issues, which were much more grounded literally and figuratively, but you can feel the end approaching very quickly to this first volume, at least going through this issue. We had a lot of questions coming into issue number 5, and we had a lot of groundwork to cover in 2 issues. We did a lot of that inside of here. So we're set up very nicely for a conclusion for issue number 6. Not a whole lot of resolution and time to reflect on what happened in the last 6 issues, I would imagine, but it's still been a fantastic series so far. They're going to wrap it up in this next issue. Hopefully they'll make a volume 2 in the near future. All right, next up is Usagi Yojimbo Kaito 84. We have issue number 4. Jared Cullum on this one. Of course, we have Zach Rosenberg doing it as well. Man, I feel like a broken record every time I talk about this series because I really enjoy the artistic quality of this, the way that Jared's able to handle some of that watercoloring art and keeping everything really tight and fresh at the same time. You don't lose anything in translation with the way that he does his page designs, his layouts, his action scenes, his character designs, everything like that. Even the coloring keeps everything really fresh and crisp. I really enjoy everything from an aesthetic point of view here. And the story is great too. I mean, it feels like you're reading a Stan Sakai book, which is a great compliment. Now, in the previous issue, we have come across this temple where we're understanding that we have to face 3 different levels of threats. And we have Kaito and we have Amy teaming up to take on whatever these threats are. It's like feats of strength. There's puzzles, there's things to do, there's villains to fight, there's mystical things to overcome, and there's a great reward at the end, and with the battle through all of that inside this issue. It happens very, very quick, but it's ultimately satisfying, it's new, it's fresh, and man, it makes you turn those pages super quick because you're just eating everything up as you go. But of course, that's not the only threat inside the book. We find ourselves in a very difficult situation towards the end. We're having to get out of that. Some of our allies were taken hostage, and so what are we going to do about that? We're going to have to overcome the odds yet again and try to win the day. So if you are a Usagi Yojimbo fan, this book must be on your pull list. It really feels like a tried-true Stan Sakai book. It has a great different artistic flavor to it. It's got a great story as well. Highly recommend checking this one out. Kaito 84 issue number 4. But all right, guys, that's what I read this week. Let's go now to League of Comic Geeks to see what I'm interested in for next week. All right, guys, we're over at League of Comic Geeks. We're going to go to new comics. We're going to change the date to July 1st, 2026. Let's see what books are coming out, what I might be interested in. Of course, we have Batman number 11, solid series there from Matt Fraction. Needs to focus in a little bit for me. There's a lot of things going on. We need to reel it in, I think, here. We're 11 issues in. What's our focus? We're going to find out hopefully very soon. We have the conclusion of Absolute Martian Manhunter issue number 12. Solid book. Really looking forward to the conclusion of that one. As we continue down, we have Poison Ivy 46. How deep could this grave be that Poison Ivy's digging for herself? We're going to find out in 46. Let's see what else we got. The Dead Man issue number 2. Loved issue number 1. Kind of a controversial issue. I really love this from the Ice Cream Man team. We're going to be continuing that one. We also have Supergirl Survive issue number 2. Fantastic issue number 1. This is from Parker and Sheridan. They did the Godzilla Escape the Dead Zone book, which I really enjoyed. So we have issue number 2 coming out soon. Let's continue on and see what we have. I don't have a whole lot this week. I'm picking up that Ghost Machine guidebook, picking up 100 Bullets, although I never read the original 100 Bullets from Azzarello and team. As we go through the work in progress edition of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, this is an absolute must grab for every single person that is out there buying comics today. There's no reason why you shouldn't grab that one. It's that 11 by 17 black and white art, $14.99. That's absolutely incredible. Let's see what else we got coming out this week. Not a whole lot, but we do have Shaolin Cowboy, staying AI alive, issue number 1. We have Jeff Darrow on this one. Anything Jeff Darrow does in the Shaolin Cowboy universe, that's a must grab as well. I guarantee you're going to really love that one. If you haven't gotten into that yet, check that out. Let's continue down, see what else is coming out. I don't know if I have anything else. This is going to be a very short week, which is totally fine because I have a lot of Invincible still to read. So that probably will about wrap it up right there for the look for next week, July 1st, 2026. All right, guys, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know down below what you read and what your favorite books of the week were. While you're down there, like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out new videos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the comments.